Let's talk about boundaries. When you first volunteered for Nightwatch, you signed this document that outlined certain boundaries guidelines. We'll assume that you read through them before signing, so we won't detail their specifics now. But basically, they asked you, in the course of relating with our guests, not to do anything that would encourage emotional involvement with them or to extend any particular one of them special favors. We want you to know that, lest you doubt, there is a reason for these rules. These guidelines were not developed arbitrarily. We have been at this business for years, and these guidelines have grown from some hard experience. We don't expect you to remember the introduction to the Boundaries Guidelines Agreement, but it goes like this. By being a volunteer at Nightwatch, I understand that I am serving something larger than myself. Boundaries are about putting certain limits on myself so that I can be more effective in serving a greater number of others. And we can tell you from our experience that when someone breaks the guidelines, it almost always turns out badly. Here's a true story. Once upon a time, a volunteer got to know a guest to whom she was drawn because he was always writing something in his notebook. "Oh, what are you writing?" she asked. "Some of my poetry," he said. "May I read it?" she asked. "Yes," he said, "and if you like it, I can send you some more poems. Can I have your email address?" She complied, violating one of our boundary guidelines. She began receiving his messages. Oh, they began innocuously enough, but they rapidly devolved. The poems descended to gibberish, then to rants, then, you know where this is going, don't you? They turned into an Anthony Weiner moment when he began sending raw pornographic material. Our volunteer had to change all her email accounts, which caused considerable complications to add to her consternation and her severe regret. If you follow a career path that takes you into the professions, you'll learn that in every professional field, there are codes of ethics that dictate boundaries a professional is to have towards the people she or he serves. Take doctors, for instance. A doctor is not to invite a patient home with her, or a therapist. Therapists are not to see a client outside the office. Teachers are not to pay special attention to a few of their students in contrast to all their other students. And even clergy, while their job regularly has them interacting with the members of their flocks at very emotional moments, family conflicts, for instance, illnesses and deaths, they are to use the same standards with any particular parishioner as they would with every other one of their parishioners. Some jobs just require professionalism. This is one of them. Serving at Nightwatch, even as a volunteer, you are expected to act in a professional way. Signing the Boundaries Guidelines means that while carrying the Nightwatch identity, you are no longer serving here as a private freelancer. What we do cannot be dictated by individual whim, but by the common good. Freelancers can behave according to their personal whims. Professionals can't. Sandra Bullock is not our model. You remember Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. She sees an impoverished young man from a dysfunctional background and adopts him into her household. Though undeniably an admirable thing for her to do, that's an example that doesn't fit when we may have 100 unique individuals on any given evening seeking our attention. How would you pick any one of them out for special attention and be fair about it? It may be that you wish to play Sandra Bullock, but if you do, then Nightwatch is not the place for you to volunteer. Our model is rather any one of the members of the Star Trek crews. The crews work as a team. If they didn't, the Enterprise would crash, fly into a supernova, or get overrun by the Borg. What distinguishes a team is a common purpose in which everyone matters. Everyone. All are treated even-handedly, the same concern and respect extended to all. While each may have a distinctive identity, no one matters more than anyone else. If it were otherwise, the common mission wouldn't be accomplished.
The needs of the many outweigh
the needs of the few.
Or the one.
Professionalism, in the form of honoring boundaries, in short, is not about being standoffish and uncaring just because you're not being Sandra Bullock. It's about practicing equality. It's about being fair. Indeed, what we hope to impress upon you in the 3 brief sessions that follow is how maintaining boundaries is important not only for the sake of yourself, but also for the sake of our guests and for the sake of your fellow volunteers. As we hope you'll see, setting boundaries is not selfish. It serves.